Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from today. I am excited to bring into the studio someone with a very unique story and a very unique journey. In fact, when I was going through the checkpoints and checkoff, I realized when it comes to his level of trailblazing is a big check. When it comes to his level of creating a new narrative, it's another big check. When it comes to his originality, big check. Authenticity, big check. Ethical conduct, big check. Check, 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 check. So I am delighted to invite all the story warriors out there, story warrior friends, story warrior associates, fanatics, whoever you are, pull your chairs closer if you want to be successful financially. If you're looking for opportunities to grow, whether you're in the diaspora or not in the diaspora, pull your chair closer because you're about to drink from the right source. I'm talking about Mr. Leslie Awasom, a gentleman who has made an incredible transition from healthcare. I don't know if it's complete, but it's almost completely into financial matters, financial liberation, financial freedom through the world of real estate. And if you're joining for the first time, you may be wondering, but who are you? Who are you bringing this gentleman into the studio or into this virtual fireside? All right, hold it there for 1 second. My name is Gideon Fomukwai. I consider myself a story warrior, a product of Africa, produced in Asia, packaged in America, and distributed worldwide. I am delighted to invite Mr. Leslie Awasom to break down what it takes to be successful in the diaspora. Good morning, Mr. Awasom. Good afternoon, and good evening to all the guests.
Good morning, good morning, Dr. Mukwai. Thank you so much for having me on this platform. That was an amazing introduction, by the way. I love how you introduce yourself and different influences that you've had across the world, and which is a reflection of the kind of person that you are. So I am really delighted and grateful to be part of this podcast and to be here today to share the little knowledge that I have based from my experiences.
From what I know, it's not little knowledge. From what I've been observing, it's certainly not little knowledge. It's a lot of knowledge you have
Thank you.
acquired through painstaking commitment, and I cannot take that for granted. First of all, which part of the world are you joining us from today? I know you do travel quite a fair bit in the Americas and beyond. Where are you joining us from this morning? It's morning now for me in Dallas, Texas. I don't know where you are, which part of the world.
Yeah, it's actually morning where I am. I'm in Maryland. I'm actually at home, and this is like my favorite place at home, like my little library where I do most of my work and study. So yeah, yeah, I'm at home in my favorite
Fantastic.
place.
It's
Yeah,
good to catch you at home because I'm sure you'll be more centered because I didn't want to
yes,
catch you. Last time we met, I think it was somewhere in Houston, and
yes.
there are a lot of people that were looking up to you, seeking advice from you on how to, where to put their financial resources, where to put in the right buckets. And you did a very good job of explaining to them where they should put their money. But I know the reason we invited you today is because you are writing a new chapter in the way that people of African ancestry, people of African diaspora, they can write new stories of success in the financial world. And I know you're one of the co-founders of Excite Capital. Tell us about Excite Capital.
Oh, thank you. So, Excite Capital Investments is a private equity firm focused in the acquisition of multifamily assets that's buying large apartment complexes. We focus on buying apartment complexes that constitute at least 100 units. And so we buy 100 units or more assets in growing markets across the US. And Excite Capital was founded in 2019 by myself and my two amazing partners, Dr. Julius Oni and Mr. Tenny Tolofari. And it was founded because all three of us are busy professionals, all three are African immigrants who followed the traditional path of migrating to the US, going to school, excelling in school, and getting a job. But once we got on that path, got a job, and started working in our respective careers, that itch of like, this cannot be it, there has to be more. Like the traditional path of just going to work, saving money in your 401k, and hoping that by the time you retire, it's all going to be there for you. That story just did not resonate with us. So we individually sought different methods, looked at different ways to diversify and grow our wealth, and came across real estate and discovered the world of multifamily investing. And again, I'm referring to like the buying of large apartment complexes.
Mhm.
As African immigrants, we all that lived in apartment complexes, but while living in an apartment, I never really stopped to ask myself, who owns this? Can I own
Mm.
it myself? That
Mhm.
was like a foreign concept to a lot of us. So, but when we discovered that it is possible, other communities are doing it and they're able to own this and create wealth for themselves and members of that community,
Mm.
we said we knew it was our duty. We took it upon ourselves
Hmm.
to create a platform that will focus on this asset class and not just focus on acquiring these assets, but also focus heavily on educating members of our community about the power that exists in this asset class, and provide opportunities for members of our community. And when I'm referring to community, I'm talking about members of our immigrant community, members of our professional community,
Hmm.
provide them with opportunities to invest in these assets that are sitting out there right in front of you, but most of us did not know that we have access to it. And it's truly one of the most powerful wealth creation tools that are available to us here in the United States.
Very interesting. I am fascinated by what you're saying because it looks like most of us who are here as part of the African diaspora and even diaspora from other parts of the world, we were sold a lie, or we bought into a dream that was broken, but somebody said it was a perfect dream. And you went into nursing and anesthesia. It's not a field that is certainly, it's a highly regarded field. You were already making inroads in that professional area. But tell us, how could someone in a field that is highly regarded, like anesthesia, still find that the dream is a broken dream or we've been sold a lie? Tell us something about that and what you found missing.
Yeah, so I would not put it in the exact words that we were sold a lie. I'll put it this way: we were sold a limited truth,
Oh,
right?
okay.
The
Okay.
truth that limits us to the growth that we could achieve, right?
I see.
The pinnacle that was exposed to us is that pinnacle that stops after you're done with school and you get a high-paying job and you
Mm,
rely on your salary to live forever, right?
mhm,
But
mhm,
there's a much broader truth than that. There's a much expansive world. There's a more expansive universe of opportunity than that.
mm,
But
mhm,
a lot of us never really get exposed to that. And due to no fault of ours, because what we know is the information that we've been given, right?
yes,
So
yes.
I walked down that same path of the limited truth that was sold to us, which is to go to school, do well in school, get a job, and I did that. As an immigrant, you come to the U.S. There's a common saying that one of my friends told me, which is true, that here in the U.S., your life in the U.S. is highly dependent on who picks you up at the airport when you land. Right? Because at that point, you're hungry, you're fresh, your mind is open, you're
Yeah.
coming to the land of opportunity. The
Yes.
person picking you up has been there before, knows the area. So if that person is telling you nursing is what it is, that's what you believe, or computers is what it is, that's what you believe, right?
That's right.
And the person that picked me up from the airport is my lovely mother, who I love and respect so much, and I'm so appreciative of for everything that she's done for myself and my siblings. And my
Mhm,
mom is a nurse, and
mhm,
as an immigrant, she came here to with her nursing degree and was able to stabilize really quickly and bring us all over here. So
mm.
that path to stabilization, she saw she wanted all of our kids to have that as well. So
Yes.
she encouraged us to get into healthcare, and which
Mhm.
is I started off in computer science. That didn't work out so well. Then I went into healthcare nursing. I said, "Well, mom is right. Let me do that." So, so got into nursing. Did well in nursing undergrad, and again, I'm always the growth seeking individual. So the next ladder,
Mhm.
I had to ask myself, okay, I am an undergraduate practicing nurse. What's the next step? I
Mhm.
look at all the options available to me. The top option was like in nurse anesthesia, which is probably one of the most prestigious careers in nursing in the US
Mhm.
and very challenging. I love a challenge. So I took upon that to go that route as well. And I was blessed to go through it and started working. I've had a really great job as a nurse anesthetist over the last 9 years.
Mhm.
It has done so much for me. It has been like a very rewarding career financially, has
Mhm.
given me the resources for me to be able to take care of my family, has
Mhm.
given me the resources for me to be able to invest in myself and invest in the businesses that I'm building
There
and
you go.
excite that we build, right?
Yes.
So, but once I got in at what was thought to be like this pinnacle, according to the
Mhm.
limited group that had been sold to us,
Mhm.
I could not get rid of the feeling like there has to be more.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
what if there is more?
Mhm.
What does that more look like?
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
So that curiosity pushed me down the path of doing a little bit of like introspection
Mhm.
and research. Then I came across a book by one of my favorite authors, Robert Kiyosaki,
Mhm.
that is called Second Chance at Your Money in Your Life.
Mhm.
And when I picked up that book, I felt like it was one of my long lost uncles. Was
Mm.
just giving me the answers of everything all the questions I've been asked. So at that point, I was so desperate for more that I
Mhm.
was willing to take the step and do some of the things that he was recommending, although it was way outside of that limited truth that has been sold.
Mm. Mhm.
Right. So
Very
that's how I got
interesting.
into real estate. And I met my partners. We founded Excite Capital, and we've grown the company to a point now where I am getting ready to completely leave the anesthesia profession and be 100% entrepreneur in the next few months.
I can only understand that, of course, when you get busy, you get busier with more and more acquisitions, with more and more partners coming in, there will be a lot more expectations. But let's just talk briefly about Second Chance. I think I bought a copy of it yesterday on Audible. I think thanks to your influence, I spotted it somewhere, I think on one of your
So,
uh, publications. And I said, you know what? If Leslie is reading that, I better read that, But what I'm understanding here is you are a man on a mission. You're a
yes,
man in pursuit of a better tomorrow. You
yes,
understand that the world as it is, in my own words, is broken. It needs someone to fix it so that the next generation should have better opportunities. That's why you and your partners founded Excite Capital. And
yes.
Excite Capital, the name sounds very exciting. Tell us what went behind that name, Excite Capital.
So the name, you said it. The name sounds exciting. The possibilities sound exciting. The
Mm,
opportunities sounded exciting. Like when we discovered multifamily investing, and we sat down and we were thinking to ourselves, "Oh my God! Like how many of us in the immigrant community
mhm,
do not know that this actually exists?"
mm,
Like because we were going to conferences, we'll go to all these conferences. We've been blessed to have some mentors from different communities like the Indian and Jewish community,
mhm,
and we'll see what they're doing in their communities, like where they're
mm,
banding together and buying these assets and
mm,
able to create wealth for themselves.
mhm.
And we ask ourselves, so what if we take this opportunity and we go educate our own community about the possibilities that exist with this
Yes,
asset class?
yes.
That really got us excited. We thought about a bunch of different names, but when Excite Capital came, we were like, okay, that's the name. But we didn't want it to be like excite, like exciting.
Mhm.
So we used X to we wanted it to sound the same. So we used X and then the site, like a
Sites,
building
yes,
site,
yes,
right? If you look at our logo, the I is a building, which is
yes.
just a vision of where we want to take the company to.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And when I asked that question, I did not know that it was going to really reveal such an exciting background or undertone to it. But that's very unique. Now, when you started Excite Capital, I'm sure, like you said, 2019. It's been a few years now. How do you compare where the company is today with where it was in 2019?
It's night and day. It's night and day, and I'm glad you asked that question because a lot of times, when we see this, you see the Leslie today, you see the Exact Capital today. All
Mhm.
you're seeing is this, but you don't see the start.
Yes, sir.
Well, when we started, we had nothing that we have right now. All we had was that belief and that vision and that excitement that this is something that we think is powerful, and we
Hmm.
want to go out there and spread this gospel of multifamily investing to our community.
Mm.
That's all we had, right? We didn't
Mm.
have no rich uncles, no backers, none of that,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
Initially, when the company started, it was just Tenny and I,
Mm.
and all we had were our jobs and this vision. And we
Mm.
got up and started doing the work every single day.
Mm.
Our first website was nothing to what it is today, right?
Yes.
We do the meetups that we do now every month. Our very first meetup, only about 3 people showed up. It was nothing like it is today, right?
There you
So
go.
there's been a lot of growth that has happened. When it started, it was Tenny and I. And
Mhm.
then along the way, we met Dr. Oni, and Dr. Oni came on board, and then things just escalated from there.
Mhm.
He just took us to a whole nother level. So,
There you go.
so a lot of change and growth has happened since we started, right? And it
Mhm.
took a lot of time and a lot of daily work, a lot
Mhm.
of hard work for us to get to where we are today.
Thank you very much for saying that, because some people, when they see a finished product, not even a finished product, someone that is amazing, maybe in the way they walk, in the way they talk, in the way they sing, or in the way that you have built Excite Capital to what it is today. They look at it and say, wow, they don't know how much work you've put in the backyard. They don't know how much work you've put in the back office. They have no clue. So tell us, with the first meeting you had 3 people. Tell us an average meeting today about how many people show up.
About 50 on average online. We've had like ones that goes 100 or more.
There you
Yes,
go.
it depends on what the topic is, but average is about 50
There you go.
every webinar. Yeah.
I love to hear that, because it begins to demonstrate to any goal seeker, to anyone out there who wants to accomplish something, that it takes a lot of work to get things done, especially when you're going out there when there's no roadmap. And that's exactly what you and your co-founders, you and your partners have done. You're going where there is no footpath, and you're leaving a footprint. So tell us, where do you see Excite Capital going in the next 5 years? 10 years. I want I
So
want I want our audience, our viewers to see the vision, to see the excitement that you see, because this is going somewhere. And I can see it, I can feel it, based on the kind of gravitas, based on the kind of energy that I'm seeing virtually. And when I've spoken with you, I realize, you know what? This man is on a mission. So where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years?
So in 10 years, our North Star is to have $5 billion, like $5 billion of assets under management.
Yes.
We currently have $168 million of assets under management, and
Phenomenal.
so that 5 billion is our North Star for 10 years. And to get there, it will require us to significantly grow our investor base,
Mhm.
significantly grow ourselves, grow our knowledge, grow our team.
Mhm.
So we see Excite Capital in 10 years, not just becoming a US company, but becoming a global company that is creating vehicles for people to grow their wealth and providing the education and inspiration for people to think beyond the limited truth that we've been sold.
Mm.
So that's where we're going over the next 10 years.
That is phenomenal. I like you call it limited truth. I call it a broken world that needs someone with good hands, a good vision to mend it, to mold it, to make it a little bit better, to make it a lot more attractive. And so, as you're building, you are encountering some challenges without doubt. What are some of the challenges that you've been encountering so far?
Um, you talk about challenges. Every day is one challenge. So every day is one challenge after the other. That's what the essence of entrepreneurship is. It's all about solving problems. Like initially when we started off, we could not even raise capital. We had an opportunity to buy a deal, to be part of a deal, and we could not even raise $1,000, towards that deal. So that challenge taught us a lesson, and then we learned from that challenge, and then made changes that pushed us to be successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every day is it's one challenge after another. Whether it's like figuring out marketing, like figuring out communication with our investors, or
Mm-hmm.
whether it's even like just breaking into this close knit circle, which is
Yes.
multifamily investing, right?
Yes.
That has been a challenge because there are not too many minorities in that industry.
Yes.
So breaking into it has been a challenge, but we've pushed our way through. Just go out there with our open hearts, open mind,
Mm.
like clear intentions to give value, and we've been so blessed, and we are so grateful that we've been invited into some spaces that we never thought existed. So we look at every challenge as an opportunity, right?
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the more we see a challenge, the more we look at where the opportunity is, and then we go out and try to walk around that. And that has significantly helped us in our growth. So, but every day is like multiple challenges, even like with team members, bringing in team members, some of them not necessarily being the good fit long term,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
have to go back all over again. Spending money on the wrong resources, or the wrong system, or like the wrong, like spending money on the wrong stuff, and then realizing you're
Yes.
not getting the results on that.
Yes.
But you just make adjustments along the way and keep going.
Yes. I really enjoy that, but not the pain that you go through, but the fact that you love to see the challenge as an opportunity. Because I once read a book, "The Obstacle is the Way," and
Yes,
I found that book very important because it says when you see an obstacle, don't always run away from it. Take some time to examine it. Take some time to look at it closely. You may be able to find a workaround. You may be able to go through it, under it, over it, beside it. And there are so many opportunities that we just don't see. Like they say, our people die for lack of vision or lack of knowledge, not so much because of lack of resources. So
very
give
true.
us, give us a little bit more of how you are using your faith, your vision to break through some of these challenges and getting invited into rooms where you would otherwise not even be invited. So, what role is faith playing in your breakthroughs, in your ability to go where no one has gone?
Oh my, this is such a good question. Faith plays a massive role, massive role. In what we're doing. And when I'm talking about faith, I'm not talking about like faith as in like religion. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
so, one of the things, the formula to miracles, I read
Hmm.
it from a book called The Miracle Equation by Hal Elrod. Right,
Hmm. Hmm.
formula to miracles is unwavering faith and
Hmm.
massive action. Right,
Hmm.
massive action is what we do every single day, but sometimes to do that massive action, you must have that unwavering faith, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So what is unwavering faith? Now, this is unwavering faith. This is the best description I have for unwavering faith that I've come across. It's like, let's say you live in Dallas,
Yes,
right?
sir.
You've driven from Dallas to Houston so
Hmm.
many times, right?
Yes, yes,
You know for a fact that you sitting in Dallas, Houston exists,
yes,
right?
yes,
And you get up in your house one day and you say you want to drive to Houston. And
yes,
as you get in your car, it starts raining. It is dark outside. It's a lightning, right? All you can see ahead of you is the next 100 meters or the next
yes.
100 yards,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But you know without a doubt that when you take that 100 meters or 100 yards,
Hmm.
your light is going to show you the next 100,
Yeah,
right?
there
You
you go.
know without a doubt that Houston exists,
Mm.
right?
Mm. Hmm.
So, but you may not see
Hmm.
the next curve or the next turn that's going to get you to Houston, but
Yes,
you know when you see the next 100, that's all you need to go, right?
yes, sir.
So that has been like so powerful in my growth because a lot
Wow.
of us want to start something. We want to figure out how it's going to get to the end
Hmm.
before we even start anything, right?
Mm. Hmm.
That faith that, okay, for example, like we set our goal this year, we're going to buy 200 million of assets, right?
Mm. Hmm.
We want to buy a $50 million deal.
Mhm.
Do we have the path already set of how we're going to acquire that $50 million deal before we set that goal?
No.
No,
No.
right?
Mhm.
But we know once we set that goal, and we know that goal exists because somebody else has bought a $50 million deal,
Yes, sir.
right? It's
Yes,
not
sir.
a foreign concept. So we know once we take the first 100 steps, the
Mm.
next 100 steps are going to show up. And we
Mm.
put in that massive action every single day because the massive action is what gets you from where you are to
Yes,
that
sir.
100 meters, to the next 100 meters, to the next
Yep.
100 meters. So faith plays a massive role in whatever you do. You have to believe that whatever you're going after
Mhm.
actually exists and is actually good for you, or you're gonna stop halfway.
Oh my goodness. That is like now if somebody heard that, they didn't know that you're a man of financial world. They think you're a pastor, they think you're a preacher. But either way, preach it, brother, because everybody who's got a pulse and who's got their brain still working and they want to accomplish something, they need to listen to that segment on the belief, on the faith that you need to do incredible things. Like you said, your first deal did not work, and yet you persisted. Now you guys are doing well over 168 million, and you're now looking even further afield. Tell us who are the kind of people that you bring into your fold to provide or to contribute to the kind of projects that you are doing in multifamily real estate ownership. Is that what you do? Maybe
Yeah.
clarify that, and then who are the kind of people that you bring in, and they tend to enjoy or have a desire to contribute to this.
Yes, so we buy multifamily, which is large apartment buildings, and majority of our investors, about 70%, 75%, 70 to 75% of our investors are immigrants and
Mhm,
busy professionals, right?
mhm,
So we work with busy professionals that want to invest in real estate, that want to invest in alternative assets outside of the stock market,
mhm,
assets that produce double-digit returns,
mhm,
that are not correlated to the market. And so it's another way of growing wealth and diversifying outside of your 401k. So we work
mhm,
with busy professionals. Typically, our minimum investment is $50,000.
mhm,
The SEC, which regulates this kind of offerings, because we're offering securities,
mhm,
has like two exemptions that we use for our investors. One of those exemptions is called 506C, which means the investor has to be an accredited investor. What that
mhm,
means is you got to make $200,000 a year as an individual,
mhm,
or $300,000 a year as a couple. And
mhm,
of recent, Congress passed a law which will open it up to more people, where you could just go take an exam and become an accredited investor. That way you're able to invest in these asset classes. And the
mhm,
other exemption we use is reg 506b, which means we could take non-accredited investor. But in order for us to take a non-accredited investor, we have to establish a substantive relationship with that person, which means
mhm,
we must have had prior communication. Like you,
mhm,
Dr. Mufai, you and I, we've met so many times. So
mhm,
uh, that substantive relationship exists. So
mhm,
those are the two exemptions that we use for investing. And
mhm.
I'm just gonna add by saying this, like, this concept sounds a little bit foreign to a lot of people, but
Yes,
this is what the savvy investors, like, if you go study the rich, the savvy investors, this is what they used to go on.
I
And
see.
the reason, like, what's his name? Tony Robbins actually came up with a book recently that is called The Holy Grail of
Mhm,
Investing,
mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm,
And the whole book is focused on this kind of investments, private
mhm,
investments, right?
mhm,
Which the rich use to
mhm,
double and compound their wealth over time.
mhm,
The reason is because these asset classes produce double digit returns. Like on average, private equity produce 14% average annual returns. And that's
mhm.
on the low yielding private equity. Our last deal that we went full cycle on, investors walked away with 30% average annual returns.
There you go.
I'm sure everybody that has a 401k has heard about compound interest, compound returns, and all of that. Now
Yes.
go do the math. You've done the math on 8% average annual return. Now go do the math on 15,
Oh my
on
goodness.
16, on 18% average annual returns, and see how fast it takes for you to grow your wealth. Now,
Yeah.
now that is knowledge that has been hiding in plain sight for all of us here in the United States. It's open for all of us to
Yes.
capitalize and invest in. So I'm just grateful that we discovered it, and that is why we get so excited while we talk about it, because
Yes,
we
sir.
get to educate other people about it.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is.
That you now I've been fascinated by compound interest. But
Yeah.
I thought, man, 7, 8% is a big deal. Now you're talking about 15%, 18%, 30%.
Yeah.
That's blowing my mind away. You could see smoke coming through my ears, but you definitely can't see because man, this is fascinating. And I know there are people out there that are dying to find something credible that it can be part of, but they don't know. And in our community, I admire the fact that our community people work very hard.
Yes.
But I have to also stop short and say very few take an extra 2, 3 hours to read a book.
Yes.
And that is a physical disability. That's a handicap that we bring upon ourselves because if you do not take the time to study these other blue oceans out there, I would definitely not even be familiar with, even though I do a fair bit of reading. So I can imagine that there are a lot of people that still don't have access to this knowledge. So you said part of the goal is to start educating some of the people in our community. So what are you doing in the world of education? What are you doing to get this message out so that more people who have excess cash on the side can put it in the right bucket? Because some of our people have been burnt. They've sent
Yeah.
money home, have been burnt. Not once, not twice, not thrice, not countless times. Send money home to someone who has a very different take on investments, and they take it like it's a Christmas day, and they blow it away. So my question is, what are you doing to make sure that more and more of the people that need this information are aware of it?
Yeah, I'm gonna answer that question. Then I want to hit on the money, sending money home, because I've been there too before. So, this like when we started
Do you
Excite
want me to
Capital.
cry over that so you can see my tears and then you can believe me, not just for myself, my wife, and
I
many,
know.
many, 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 many others. And
No, but it's important we talk about
if you
that,
can
right?
stem that bleeding, if you can stem that bleeding, you'll forever be a messiah. But go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
It's important we talk about that because a lot of us are still doing some of the same things, right? So, when we started, the reason why we grew so fast is because we focused on giving, like giving a ton of value, giving a lot of free education to members of our community. Because you can imagine introducing this asset class to a community that has never been exposed to it before requires a ton of education. So when we started, we did a lot of unofficial education with our webinars.
Mhm,
I was running a weekly underwriting course where I was teaching people how to underwrite properties and stuff. And
mm,
a lot of members of our community reached out and said, like you guys are doing this, it's not really structured. Why don't you guys launch something really formal? Because this education is needed in our community.
mm,
So last year we created Excite Academy, which
mhm,
is going to be an educational platform.
mhm,
We've launched our first course on Excite Academy. It's a digital course on multifamily investing.
mm,
I highly, highly, if you're thinking about investing in multifamily assets, I highly, highly recommend it, because one of the most important things you must have is the prerequisite knowledge on
yes,
how these assets work, the risks that
absolutely.
are involved. It's great assets. You can make a ton of money, but like every investment, you can lose your money to. So
Yes,
the way you prevent that, although the risk with this is significantly lower than most investments, but the way you prevent that become foolproof is by getting the right education. So
yes,
we
sir.
have that course, and that you could take and learn how to invest in this as a passive investor. And we also want to create other apartment owners. So we launched a very small mentorship program where we're
Mm,
going to be taking only 20 people to help them buy their first apartment buildings, which
mm,
is kind of like a done with you approach where we hold their hands and
mhm.
help them, introduce them to some of our resources, some of the networks that we've been able to break into, so they could get on the path to owning their first deal, something that we did not have when we started. So we have that going as well. And later on this year, we're going to expand on the educational piece, because we're learning a lot about finances, about investments that is not traditionally taught to us,
Yes, sir.
right? Like the traditional investments that we've taught when we go to school and get a job. there's a lot more out there, as you know.
Yes.
So we're gonna create more educational stuff that is gonna be launched through Excite Academy. And
Yes.
you know, I don't blame people for not reading books, right? Because to be honest, by the time you're done with your degree, a lot of us get like bachelor's, master's, PhD. By the time you're done, the amount of books you've read, you just want to sit back and enjoy life, right? And that's where I was.
Which I don't subscribe to at all, because
No, I
when you
agree.
drop that degree, that's
Yeah,
when you should really start learning to
that's actually
leave.
when the education started. But
Yes, sir.
maybe the system was set up to beat us up so much that by the time you're done, you don't even want to see a book, right?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, a lot of the stuff that they teach us, it's like you don't even use it in your career,
Yes, sir.
right? I remember when I got out of anesthesia school, I was like, I would never open a book again in my life. So I've been there before, but look at the
Yeah.
behind me.
Yeah.
My library is like I've read over since I picked Second Chance. I've read over 500 books,
There you
right?
go.
And I read every single day, and because I read, I go implement, and I see the results.
Yes.
So yeah,
That's probably where I failed to a large extent. I've read like crazy. I've not implemented as much. And so I'm
yeah,
rededicating myself to starting to implement even just 10% of what I know, which I've
yes,
taught in different places, whether it's in Asia, here in America, Europe, in Middle East. If I can implement 10% of that, there'll be a revolution. But to your point, uh, some of our people think that formal education is all that there is. But I think that the real miracles happen in informal education, which is what you're doing now, like with Excite
yes,
Academy, with what I do with uh, Story Warrior
yes,
Academy. Uh, all of these are helping people who are already qualified with formal education to do things that are more practical and bring more results to the community. So you're familiar with our community. People don't quite like reading, and that's
yeah,
that's a little bit sad. But in other communities that you've worked with, let's say the Indian community or the Jewish community, I'm very familiar with the Chinese community more than with the Jewish and Indian. But in terms of how they get together and get contribute to capital formation, can you talk about capital formation in our community, which is predominantly African immigrants or African American, and the Jewish and the Indian, based on your familiarity?
absolutely. There exists a lot of mistrust in our community with dealing with each other, right? And
Mhm.
that's something that I myself had growing up because
Mhm.
we are taught not to trust this person because they're from this, not to trust this other person because they're from that. Like I'll give you an
Mhm.
example.
Mhm.
My two partners are Nigerians, right?
Mhm.
And you can
Mhm.
imagine all the stereotypes and everything that we've heard about Nigerians and all of
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
I'm really grateful because my mom kind of raised me differently to be more open minded to people. So I never really judge people based off of those stereotypes and all of
Yes,
that.
sir.
I judge people based off the experiences that I have with them.
Yes,
And
sir.
these two guys, I would lay my life on the line for them,
Yes, sir.
right? Any
Yes.
day, anytime,
Yes, sir.
right? Because these are people that are trustworthy, that I trust, that I
Yes.
have that kind of level of trust with them.
Yes.
But if I had listened,
Mhm.
like when I met Tenny, I would have been like, oh my God, this guy is Nigerian. I should not be partnering with
Yes.
this guy,
Yes.
and I would have missed out on a significant opportunity to learn a lot.
Yes, sir.
Most of them, I've had the opportunity to go to Nigeria and actually spend some time over there from an observer's perspective.
Mhm.
And Nigeria is a giant in
Yes, sir.
Africa.
So
Like we
rising
have
giant.
so much to learn from Nigerians, right?
Yes.
From
Yes.
the way they carry themselves, for the sense of
Oh my
identity that
God.
they have.
Oh my
I
God.
tell my partners that Nigeria is the future of Africa, and in the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to start seeing that. You don't
Yes.
have to go far to look at it. Just see what happened with Afro beats.
Yeah.
You would tell that what's coming. So
Yes.
again, so some of these stereotypes just lead to mistrust.
Yes,
Like
sir.
I don't know where those stereotypes came from, but if you look at
Mhm.
some of the origins, it was created to keep us intentionally separated,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
And you find it difficult for us to work with each other. From all the learnings that I have gotten from my personal development journey, I can see it even in our Cameroonian community,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Nothing in Cameroon can, the greatest thing that leads to failure when
Mhm.
communities try to come together in Cameroon is time.
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
You just need to give it some time.
Yes.
All the negatives will start emerging themselves,
Yes.
right? People can get inspired and say, "Oh, let's do this, let's do this." Just give it some time. In 6 to 8 months, you're gonna start seeing it emerging. But
Yes.
the reason is it's not by coincidence.
Yes.
By no means, it's not by
Mm.
coincidence.
Mm.
It is specifically because of the information that we have been told.
Hmm.
It is because of the information that was transferred to us, and
Yes.
it builds this foundation of mistrust that we grow
Yes.
up to have amongst each other.
Yes.
I spent some time studying like the Jewish philosophy. Like
Hmm.
I've read so many books by Jewish authors and how they view money and the way they interpret the Bible and all of that.
Hmm.
And I'm telling you, like there's absolutely no way you understand why they're so successful,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes.
Number one, right?
Yes.
They're described as a chosen
Yes.
race, right? If
Hmm.
you grow up in life knowing that you're
The
chosen, it
chosen.
means that you go and try to push against anything
Yeah.
because you know you're choosing. There's somebody that's always there with you,
You're
right?
wired. You're wired that way.
So I decided to wire myself to that way
Mm.
that God, whatever, God is always with me in anything that I do,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So I'm not afraid to go to any challenges because I know there's a higher power that's pushing me,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So that's something that I learned from that community. And the other thing that I learned is they work together,
Mm.
right? We had the privilege of being invited to like an Orthodox Jewish real estate conference in
Hmm.
Florida back in November.
Hmm.
And you go to a space, you see thousands of people. All of them are accomplished millionaires. They own multiple assets all over the US.
Hmm.
They are humble. The humility is seen, the
Hmm.
communication, the community, the sense of community is there.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
work with each other, transactions
Oh.
happen between each other, they open
Oh my
resources
God.
to each other. You know,
Oh.
they want to work with you,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you're open mind now. Think about some of the stereotypes that we've learned about some of these communities, right?
Yes. Yes.
When you go in there, you realize that people are just people,
Yes,
right?
sir.
And
Yes,
people
sir.
want to work with people that share the similar interests with them,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Hmm.
So we have to start changing that in our community.
Thank you.
There is
Mm.
absolutely no way we grow as a continent, as a people, if we do not work with each other.
Mm.
Everything that we want in life, everything that we'll ever want in life has to come through people,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
So we possess a lot of resources, a lot of intelligence amongst us, a lot of discipline. But when we are together, we can do so much. Look at what Excite Capital has been able to do, Dr. Mukwai. We've been able to acquire 168 million of assets under management, with 70% of our investors being immigrants.
There you go.
And a very small number, like 70% of about 200,
There you go.
just
There you go.
200,
There you go.
been able to acquire 168 million of
Hmm.
assets. Imagine what will happen. We are 1,000, uh, 2,000, 3,000, right? The
Thank you.
Nigerian professional community alone in the US is 750,000 working professionals.
There you
The
go.
Cameroonian community is thousands of working professionals, right?
Yeah.
Again, we the most important thing is like we have to start thinking of coming together and doing this. You don't have to, please, you don't have to invest with Excite Capital, right?
Yes.
If you want to go create another Excite Capital, you come, and if you qualify, we'll take you on and we'll mentor you, teach you how to do it,
There you
right?
go. There you go.
We must continue to work together as a community to grow further, because there's so much opportunities out there for everybody. There's more than enough for all of us.
Thank you so much for saying that and saying it with such passion. As you could see, I was just like groaning, and not groaning in a bad way, but like in agreement with you, because what has really beset us is a tribal mindset.
Yes.
We're held back by the fact that, oh my God, that one is family kill. Oh my God, that one is backwards. Oh my, no, people are people. Humans are
Thank
humans
you.
everywhere you go. You know, when I went to Singapore in my mid 20s, everybody said to me, don't go there, go to America. I went on my own instincts, and I've never found a place more beautiful, more tolerant. I've never found a place more engaging in every single sense of the word. Like it flows through my system, the thinking, the way that things get done right, not just getting things done, but getting things done right. It's like it's a philosophy that we need to humble ourselves and learn. And even millionaires are
Absolutely.
humble, billionaires are humble. They go to the coffee shop and they drink coffee. They're normal people. They're not showing off. They're not bullying people around. That really struck a chord with me. And so when you talk about this tribal mindset and you talk about what you've learned from the other communities, it really resonates very clearly with me because I've seen it in another community. And I wish and I pray we can learn from these other communities that have done the homework, they've excelled, we can learn from them. But now, so there's a cultural dimension to it. Last week, I was part of a group known as African Think Tank. Beautiful. They brought people in from all corners of Africa and they were talking ideas just like what you're talking about. Do you now realize it's not just about the problem is not the finances. The problem is we need a cultural shift in the way that we articulate our problems, in the way that we articulate the importance of getting together. Do you see that that's a new piece that we need to think about that will help us to start molding together, building together, not building apart? Because what's killing us is not that we're brilliant, but we don't build together. And in my little humble way, maybe I now disclose, bring the cat out of the bag. What I'm doing here on this platform is begin to start conversations with folks that look like us, with folks that don't look like us, who can share ideas with us and with others, because it's about not just us, but everyone else. So we begin to see that what holds us together is far stronger than what holds us apart. And this Black History Month, Martin Luther King said, "Judge me by the content of my character." So when you were speaking, I was thinking, okay, this is something like Dr. King would say, but you're seeing it in the financial world. So what else can we do? What kind of collaborations can Excite Capital put together with other organizations, with other people of good faith, goodwill, to start molding that cultural piece? Because without that, even if we put the money together, sooner than later we start fighting. What else can we do to build those
So,
bridges of understanding?
those are some great points, and that's a very good question. Um, the question I asked for the audience, or anybody listening to this, is it's what we're doing right now. Is it working? Right? And they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and hoping that you get a different result. Clearly, what we're doing right now is not working. It is not working at all for all of us, right? So there has to be that change in mindset, that change in culture, right?
Mhm,
Right? And it's on us to do it, right? Right? We can sit and talk about it and come up and because I'm not the first one to talk about it. You're not the first one to talk about it. This is
mhm,
something we've always known.
mhm,
We've known all along, and our ancestors, our elders have spoken about it, but we haven't done anything to change that narrative.
mhm,
So Excite Capital, one of our ethos is to lead by example, like to show this
mm,
by example. We hold
mhm,
ourselves to very, very strong core values,
mhm,
right? Honesty and transparency being one of them.
mhm,
Abundance and growth, like we understand that there's
mm.
more than enough to go around, right?
Yes.
We don't lose anything by sharing everything we know with somebody else. There's more than enough.
Wow. Wow.
You understand? Like, and daring to be unique, which is by doing some of these things by taking the example, because we could talk about it, but what are we doing?
Yes,
Right?
sir. Yes,
And
sir.
in our actions, in what we're doing, like we welcome collaboration, right?
Yes. Mhm,
One, you have a great thing that you're doing that aligns with what our vision and our goals are. We would love to collaborate with you. If
mm,
there's anything that we could do to help in your own growth, we would love to give that. And you see, that's one of the reasons why we launched this one-on-one mentorship program. And Tenny
mm,
and I were just talking about it this past week. I was in Charlotte with one of our mentees. We flew him down and took him there and introduced him to some of our brokers, like top brokers in the market, so they could start having access to exclusive deals. And
mhm,
we were like, but why do other people not do this? Like, why
mm.
you hiding information? You have this network, this person trusts you, somebody else you're mentoring wants it. Why do you want them to go through all those steps? We
Yes.
just need you go introduce you, shake hands. Now you
Yes.
have the credibility. Go buy
Yes.
your own deal,
Yes.
right? There's so much more out there, and so the, And the thing is, once you start doing something like that, because of the way we've been trained,
Hmm.
there's a lot of suspicion, right? There's a lot of doubters that come in. They go, oh, this, that. You hear all of that.
Hmm.
So we know that's the path we have to walk through,
I
right?
see. Yes.
And we know that it might take us setting an example for somebody else to follow in that same
Mm.
example and start doing the
Mm.
same thing. So I
Hmm.
encourage others out there that are doing it. There are some other people that are doing it in silence and not being out there and telling the story like we are right now.
Yes.
And that's how we initially started. Until one of our mentors said, "You guys must go out there and share this story because it's a powerful one."
Yes.
Because we've been taught that when you're doing something, oh, don't let your neighbor know, it's not good. You understand what I'm saying? So I had to struggle with that,
Mm.
right? We had to change a lot of that. So, like the African think tank, I think that's a great platform, great organization. Let's keep doing that.
Yes.
Let's keep having the conversations and then move from conversations to leading
To
by
action.
example.
To
When
action.
you do something, you figure it out, pull your
Yes.
brothers on, show
Yes.
them that this is how it is. Like it, nobody is not taking anything from you by showing somebody else how to do it. The truth is, there's so much more
So
opportunity
much
out there than
more.
one person can
So
take.
much more. That
Yeah,
is the key word I hear from you. So much more. And the communities that have molded me, yes, beyond home, I would have to admit, have taught me that there's so much more to go around. There's enough bread for everybody.
absolutely.
If we just pause and look at how much we've already accumulated, we realize we're not probably even going to consume all of that. So get a little piece of that, share with somebody else. So I really applaud you for starting Excite Academy, which, as you say, will begin to mentor others. But also, there's something that caught my attention that you mentioned about accredited investor. Did I hear you right?
Yes.
And who could be a good beneficiary of that?
So an accredited investor is somebody, according to the SEC definition, is somebody that makes $200,000 in income a year, in personal income a year as an individual,
Mhm.
or that makes $300,000 a year as a
As a
couple,
family.
right?
Okay. Hmm.
So it's just an income qualifier that
Okay.
that gives you access to more
Hmm.
so-called risky investments.
Hmm.
So the way the US system is set up, right? It
Yes.
truly is set up to favor the more successful.
Absolutely
Right?
true.
They have all these qualifiers, accredited investors, qualified investors,
Yes.
and there's a difference to what you have access to if you meet those thresholds. A lot of us that make 200, $300,000 a year don't even know that we are accredited investors and have access to this. And I'm
There you
talking
go.
about private real estate, private credit, all
Yes.
these other investments that give double-digit returns,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then when you go like a qualified investors, you gotta have a net worth of like $2 million. And
Hmm.
with that, that even gives you access to more exclusive, more investments.
There you
Like,
go.
and these are the investments that give you like that when it works, it gives you like 100x
Yes.
return on investment. You understand?
Yes.
So, but the not so savvy and not so the other people that don't know about it or the lower income, they say go put all your money in a 401k,
4K.
go put it in the stock market.
How
Well,
dangerous is that?
exactly, and that is probably one of the riskiest investments that's out there, unless
Yes.
you're just putting it like on the S&P and just let it float over there.
Yeah.
But then why the rich are investing in all this the accredited investors and
Hmm.
investing in all these other assets and getting double triple digit returns. So
Yes.
but like I mentioned, there's been a lot of push for more access to more
Hmm.
people.
Hmm.
So Congress passed an act that would require the SEC to administer an examination that
Mm.
anybody can go take and become an accredited investor and now have access to this asset classes.
Mm.
So once that is finalized, my partners and I, we do plan to create something that will help people
Hmm.
learn how to go take that exam so you could become an accredited investor and have access to many more opportunities to invest in.
Sign me up. Sign me up. I believe the more knowledge we have, the better. Because I'm an educator.
Yes,
I chose to go do a doctorate in education, not because I needed it to give me money, but I needed to understand how do you break complex ideas and make them
yes,
palatable and make them relatable and make them memorable. That's my fascination. How do you take something difficult? And unfortunately, people in academia want to make it difficult. But what do you need to do to break it down to the masses so that everybody can benefit from it? And I want to be sure, because I grew up with the masses. I grew up down and out. I want to be able to contribute in some way in taking those ideas, stealing those ideas from wherever they may be hiding in the ivory towers, and take them to the main street so that the people who are really genuinely hungry can benefit from that. And that's what I see that Excite Capital is doing. You're stealing the elixir from the top of the mountain. You're taking the hot fire, those who are still in desperate need to find a better way to warm themselves, because that's a physiological need. And as you go
Absolutely.
about this journey, I am in awe because you're putting yourself out there. You're super approachable. You are genuine, you're authentic, and I see the values, the principles as very, very inspiring. So let me ask you a question. If there's a young immigrant from Africa, from Asia, from Middle East, from Southern America, who wants to grow up and do what you do, what should they be more interested with? Should it be formal education, informal education? What steps would you provide to someone who is in their 20s and saying, you know what, when I grow up, I want to be like Mr. Awasom?
Oh, that's such a good question. Um, and it brings me to something which I'm just going to talk about. Then I answer the question. Like, I grew up in I went to primary school in Cambe in the Northwest Province. A very at that time was a very small and remote village.
Hmm.
And growing up in that village, I remember way back then, I was probably like 6, 7, 8 years old. But
Hmm.
I remember I always used to look at my environment and thought, there's a bigger world out there. I had this big vision of the world, but
Hmm.
I just didn't know how to get there. I just didn't know what to do. But I always had that belief within my mind that
Hmm.
there's a much bigger scope to the world than
Yes.
what I see in that
Yes.
environment, right?
Yes.
And I preface that to say that I know that there are many, many other young kids growing up in Africa, all over the world, that
Yes.
are looking at that too and seeing that, right?
Hmm.
And that was one of the things that pushed me out of my shell to
Hmm.
be able to share my story, because
Hmm.
being public is not something that I'm very comfortable with, to be honest
Hmm.
with you, but I
Hmm.
do it
Hmm.
because I know that somebody else is going to see it and be like, you know what, he
Yes,
did it,
sir.
so I can do it. And that has been happening. I'm getting like people reaching out to me from Kenya, Nigeria, Cameroon,
Mm.
and asking these questions that you're asking. And I'm,
Now you
about
know I'm a mind reader. I can read what's on the minds of the viewers and
yeah,
the audience.
yes.
All right.
So they
All
want
right.
to know what path to do. I'll say important first of all, at least get a good foundation. Like get a good foundation, basic education. You
Mhm.
gotta first of all know how to understand how to look at numbers, read,
Mhm.
and all of that. I don't know what kind of education that requires. If you can informally train yourself, read by yourself to do that, that's fine.
Mhm.
But one of the biggest thing you gotta have is the belief that
Mhm.
you can accomplish whatever it is that you're setting your mind to,
Yes, sir.
right? You got to have that belief because it's not an easy journey to
Yes.
transition from that part to getting to this, right? Because
Yes.
you're just talking about you starting from like with nothing. So I would say once you have that belief set, right,
Mhm.
start educating yourself. You talked about the informal sector of education is very powerful.
Mhm.
YouTube University is a thing, right? Whatever section you want to focus in on, zero it down on YouTube. Like I had a young lady reached out to me from the Middle East. That's an immigrant over there and was asking about what to do. And I recommended you like marketing, go online, digital marketing, just consume as much content in
Yes, you
YouTube
can.
University on digital marketing and start
Yes.
testing it out.
Yes.
And you do that for over a year,
You'll
you're
be.
gonna be surprised by where you're gonna take yourself,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So
Absolutely.
just I wanna really mention this because it's important.
Yes, sir.
It's not a get rich quick idea. Whatever it is that you want, you must put in the time and the
Mm.
work to do it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Don't see me talking about 168 million and thought that I read Second Chance and then all of a sudden I had the book.
Yeah.
I had we grew up
Money.
today. No,
Yep.
it has been a daily grind every single day
Yes.
working to grow myself, reading more books, pushing myself out, going out to network with other people, which is the other most important part, is
Hmm.
to step out of that circle that you're in right now. Go
Yes.
network outside.
Yes, sir.
If you're not where you are in life, that means that you don't have the right people around you yet,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
I'm not saying that cut off from those people, but go out and seek more information, because when you grow, you're going to encourage your community to grow as well,
There you
right?
go.
But
Hmm.
then put in the work on
Yes.
a daily basis
Put
towards
in the
whatever
work.
goal it is you said. If it's real estate,
Yes.
educate yourself, go out to networking events on real estate, listen to podcasts, read books on real estate, take courses, learn a skill that you know how to do, and then go out there and start talking to other investors so that it becomes real to you, and then take action, right? Set a goal, say I'm going to buy a 50 unit building, and then figure out what you need to do that, and then just start taking action. You might not have all the resources, all the tools, but trust me, they'll open up to you
They'll
as you
open
start
up
taking.
to you once you start
So,
moving.
yeah.
Thank
So,
you so much. That is incredible. And so maybe this is a final question before we do our rapid fire. And I don't want to abuse your time. So you have successfully, or you are almost in the process of making a crossover, complete crossover from healthcare, taking care of people with respect to their physiological, medical needs, to taking care of their financial needs. Can I assume that you're almost done with that transition, and you're going to help other people to make that transition? If so, tell us if you've made that transition.
yes, I'm in the final stages of making that transition. I have a few more shifts left in the hospital in the next couple months, and then I'm done. And
Mhm.
now I'm 100% entrepreneur, and
Financial care.
focusing on, yep, and focusing on growing wealth. And yes, I would love to teach other people how to make that transition, but not yet.
Okay.
Right now, the focus is on this year. It's on
Okay.
getting our 20 that want to buy apartment buildings to help them, and then
Mhm.
buying our own apartment buildings and making sure that we are managing well to provide the returns to our investors. But this is something that I'm really passionate about, because I started with nothing, just the idea, and
Mhm.
I've been able to get to where I am. So
Yes, sir.
I'm at some point I'll put my thoughts together and then be
Mhm.
able to see if I could offer that as something that I help others that want to go in that path as well. So yeah,
Okay.
but definitely I love teaching people. I love seeing people grow.
Mhm.
So that I think that is the core of who I am.
Yes.
Uh, when I was in CPC Bali as a very young man, I was the youngest in my class, but my classmates used to call me Pa Advice because I always loved to teach people. I don't know what I'm talking about back
Go
then.
CPC, go Bobans, go Bobans, go. Crazy guys,
Exactly,
but they
yeah.
also work
A
very hard.
7 years,
I love them.
7 year Boban for sure. So,
Wow.
I realized that, reflecting back on some of those moments, I realizing that I love mentoring others. I love seeing other people succeed. So, however way I could transfer my experiences or knowledge to other people to help them grow, I would love to keep doing that.
Talking about that advice, if you read that book, Making the Crossover from Healthcare to Financial Care, I would love to be the first person to stand in line and buy my copy and get it uh, autographed by you. And if you want to work on fine tuning those stories so that they glow, so that they can touch and encourage and uplift people, sign me up also as one of your guys that will be able to give some suggestions on the stories that you'll be telling. But clearly, you're onto something. And I feel like a tiny, like a kid standing by the roadside and just applauding somebody passing on a wagon. I see you guys are going somewhere, you and your partners. But more importantly, what I admire is your humility, your courage, and your tenacity to go get it done. That really is so inspiring to me. And I mean, inviting all the story warrior associates, story warrior fans in Asia, in America, in Middle East, in Europe, in Africa, all over, wherever you are, please go check out Excite Capital. How can we find Excite Capital? How can we get in touch with you? How can we be part of this movement that you're creating? You are the Harriet Tubman of financial care, as I would say.
This is some big shoes to carry there.
You gotta start from
Thank you
somewhere.
so much for the kind words.
Financial
Yeah,
care on the ground.
so XI Capital is spelled X as in xylophone, S as in Sam, ITE, XI Capital. You can search us online. Our website is www.excitecapital.com. My name is Leslie Awasom. That's my name on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, sharing my story of how I got here on LinkedIn. So please connect with me on LinkedIn, on any of the social media platforms. And to learn more about what we're doing, go on our website. We have a ton of resources on there. We keep updating it and adding more resources. And we have a ton of information and any opportunities that we have that are upcoming, we'll have it on our website as well. So I look forward to connecting with you. And yeah, so let's keep growing. There's so much more out there for all of us, and let's keep growing.
All right, amazing. So this is a very last segment. We do the rapid fire segment, which is just to help people get to know you a little bit more. So short question, short answer.
Got it.
Mr. Leslie Awasom, tell us, when did you first arrive America?
May 15, 2000.
Okay. When did you found or co-found Excite Capital?
February 2nd, 2019.
Man, those dates are so precise. Tell us, what is your favorite day of the week?
Tuesday.
Okay. Tell us, what is your favorite book?
Ah, man, that's a tough question. Ah,
Give us top
why is
three.
it tough? There's so many books that I love. That's
Top
a
three.
tough one. Top three.
Yes.
I'll have to have Second Chance in there because it's one of those, is the book that got me on that path.
Yes.
The other book I'm going to talk about, which I like a lot, that had a huge influence on me, is it's called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by
Okay.
Vishal Lakiani.
Mhm.
And mainly because it taught me about the power of beliefs and how I could exchange my beliefs, and that has really helped me grow.
The Power of
And
the
then,
Extraordinary Mind. Okay. The Code
yeah,
of the
yeah,
Extraordinary Mind. Okay.
Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishal Lakiani. And then I'm going to wrap it up with Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, because
Yes.
that's a foundational book on like the power of our thoughts and how we could tap into that to create some really good results.
And that keeps coming. It keeps coming up over and over for most of the extraordinary people that we have interviewed here on this channel. And what's your favorite ice cream, if you do?
Anything with caramel flavor.
Okay. Favorite city in America?
Charlotte.
Favorite place to go on vacation?
Ah, favorite place to go on vacation. This is sad, Dr. Mukwai, but I don't go on vacation very much. My vacation is reading books.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You need
yeah,
that knowledge.
yeah, so favorite place, Mexico. I like Mexico.
Okay. And the final one, prefer Achu or Aero?
I'm a
Say that again. Oh no, we got frozen.
Yeah. No, my response to the last question was I'm a Manco man, so that's an easy answer. I chew all the way. I don't want my ancestors to come after me, so
Achu all the way. Okay. Well, I think Aero might lose today, but it might not lose tomorrow because who knows the guest that's coming up next. But
I know.
thank you so much, Mr. Leslie Awasom of Excite Capital. This has been a phenomenal conversation, just unpacking your journey from humble beginnings in Cambe to where you are now in Baltimore, and you are leading a transition or a transformation within our community. What you do definitely is touching lives, and you're one of our four um, identified trailblazers that I would like to call the Harriet Tubmans of financial care. That they're building an underground train to get people, our people,
Wow,
from ignorance to
wow.
informed. Because when you're informed and you're confident and you have beliefs, you can do extraordinary things. This has been Gideon Fomukwai of the Story Warrior channel, thanking Mr. Awasom for his time. And sir, thank you for all you do. May you keep encouraging, may you keep inspiring. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those kind words. I am truly honored. Thank you.
Yes, sir.